Good morning, Glennis.
Good afternoon, Ryan.
You might be concerned that Glennis has been kept out of the country intentionally, but it's actually by choice.
I apologize to listeners who I told last week that I'd have updates on TSA, and then I realized after we stopped recording that I am, in fact, not going back to America. I'm going to Sweden to see
Lady Gaga. I'm sure it's a total coincidence that you're staying in time for the Mayhem Ball.
Yeah, it just happened to work out. So that's where I'm going right after this recording.
But first, let's get into the news of the week. Okay, without a doubt, the thing that has driven the conversation online more than I think anything else this week has been the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, the release of the hostages, and a lasting question mark peace in the Middle East, kind of TBD.
Yeah, I mean, this is objectively really great news that this phase one of this deal is now done, which is the return of the Israeli hostages and a ceasefire in Gaza. But I think there's a ... There's a lot more that has to be worked out.
Yeah, I mean, it's good news. I want people to celebrate that, right? It's okay to celebrate things even in this really dark time for the country / the world. It is not everything. It is not perfect. And I think it's good to acknowledge that the things that we've seen over the last 2 years are the most horrific imaginable, and that an end to that, hopefully permanent end, is something that we should be really happy about. I think that for us, the conversation is definitely about the politics of it. I'm not an expert on the Middle East. I'm always the first person to say that. So I'm not going to make predictions about how long it's going to last or what the sort of foreign policy ramifications are. I think there are pretty dramatic political implications domestically for us to dive into as well. Trump is certainly trying to take singular credit for this peace deal, even putting aside my strong distaste for Donald Trump. I'm sort of having a hard time buying into that. And I've seen some people feeling the need to credit where credit's due kind of thing. But to me, this was sort of the inevitable outcome when Trump won the election. And so if it ended during Trump's term, he was going to claim credit for it, period.
Of course.
I also think there have been a lot of comments about how similar the deal framework is to what Biden had proposed. Our friend Keith Edwards has been talking about this quite a bit, which I think has some validity to it as well. What are your thoughts on Trump's credit or lack thereof due for this deal?
Right. I mean, the optics of him being the president when the deal was closed, there's no denying that, right? But of course, there's no denying the 2 years or at least a year prior of the Biden administration trying to broker a deal, one which did last for a set amount of days and released 20 hostages. I also just think there's no denying
they released. Sorry, Biden got over 100 hostages.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah.
Just over the course of all of the ceasefires and whatnot, right?
Right. Thank you. That's important. I also think there's no denying that over the course of the last 2 years, Israel has killed close to 70,000 Palestinians and over 125,000 Palestinians have been injured. And of course, 1,200 Israelis were killed on October 7th, with I think almost close to 500 Israeli soldiers killed through the course of the war. I mean, you look at the map of the Gaza Strip and it's not there anymore.
And to that point, the world has reacted to that, right? Absolutely horrific, huge number of the death toll that you just described, children, right? Extremely young population and huge number of children killed. The world has reacted in a way that feels like it played a role in this as well, as big of a role, if not bigger, than Donald Trump, in my eyes, where you have European nations coming out and recognizing Palestinian statehood over the last number of months and world opinion of Israel cratering in a way that did not happen in the first year of the war. And so I think that Israel's negotiating position at the table has deteriorated dramatically. And Trump communicated that to Netanyahu very directly, I think.
Agree. And there's so much more of this deal to be worked out, which only time will tell how that happens. We're also seeing violence in the Gaza Strip right now. Trump has said he's giving Hamas a couple of days to figure it out. I think were his exact words. So you're seeing violence in the streets there again, and it's I don't know what's going to happen, and I can just literally pray for peace. It has been so horrific to see this play out over the last 2 years, and for us to have it really be, along with the war in Ukraine, the first war that we're seeing play out on our cell phones in real time.
Agreed. I'm very glad to see an end to the violence, and we need to make sure that the United States does not play a role in instigating violence moving forward. I have to say, Trump told reporters last night, quote, this is from Politico, that the U.S. could step in, quote, quickly and perhaps violently if Hamas does not disarm. If, again, a quote from Trump, if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. They know I'm not playing games. So empty threats, or is Trump thinking about putting boots on the ground in the Middle East? No one's to say, because he changes his mind every 20 minutes. But let's aim for a lasting peace with no American troops involved. Other news of the week, because there's so much happening, got to talk about the shutdown. We're addicted, guys.
Yeah. Are we addicted to the shutdown, or
No,
are Republican officials addicted to not doing their job?
So we have John Thune, who's the Republican leader of the U.S. Senate, and he's just a broken record. He's just bringing the same vote up in the Senate again and again and again. I think that they're voting for the 6th or 7th time today on the same continuing resolution that isn't even a long-term solve, would only be like a couple of weeks of funding at this point. And then you have Mike Johnson, who literally, how do you know he's lying? His mouth is moving. It's wild how out of touch he is. He's continuing to not swear in the Congresswoman from Arizona who won her special election weeks ago at this point. Pretty unprecedented in that sense. And the Republicans aren't even in DC. They don't even have Republicans there to vote on a solution. They're all just like chilling at home, taking vacay.
Yeah, and I don't want to die on this hill, but I will, which is he's refusing to swear in this recently elected Congresswoman, maybe because once she's in office, we would have to vote on the Epstein files.
Exactly. Right. And even Fox News has been pressing him on it. And he's like, I don't know. Nobody cares about that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, Mike Johnson. He's so embarrassing. He famously unaware of who Bad Bunny was, Mike Johnson, famously who has a porn accountability app with his son, Mike Johnson. Like, get a grip.
Get a grip. I also just have to mention the Hatch Act, which is the law that prohibits people from using their political office to advance their political career, to campaign, right? It's why if you're running for re-election as a president, you can't talk about your campaign like in the White House. Like you can't run your campaign out of the White House. That's not allowed. It's also why you can't endorse specific products from the Oval Office. And the Hatch Act they've taken a hatchet to the Hatch Act during this administration.
Hear that joke?
It's a joke now. It's actually, we're so far past the line, like that we actually can't even really remember what it was like to have boundaries on what was acceptable behavior.
It stresses me out. I want to just like mention Kai Trump. She's the 18-year-old niece of Donald Trump. And to your Hatch Act point, she is the most recent like grifter in chief for the Trump family. She, from the White House, launched her new swag line. And I get that she's not a politician, but that seems to me like it's a highly illegal activity to use the power of the presidency to launch your swag line, which also, I mean, they have no creative integrity, but wasn't like a copy paste of Travis Kelce's American Eagle logo. It's just so disgusting the way that Donald Trump has used this office and allowed his family to use this office to further enrich themselves, which is breaking the law.
100%. I also think that like the clear violations here are when they use government websites to bash Democrats and try to blame them for the shutdown. There are these, I think we talked about it already, but there are these like warning labels if you go to like the State Department or the Park Service or something like that. Federal employees put up regular old out of office emails like, hey, the government shut down, I'm furloughed, in their email accounts. They had their messages replaced to blame Democrats by people without their knowledge or permission. The other thing that people have been talking about is Kristi Noem recorded this video that's being played in airports that also just directly blames Democrats. And now a bunch of airports are refusing to play it, but it's been played in like hundreds of airports across the country.
I saw that in my local Times Union, upstate New York, Albany International Airport, international because it flies to Montreal. The TSA agents, they were fed up because they're not getting paid.
Right.
They were like, take down that video.
Totally. I think that it's something for us to talk about longer term as to how do we restore some of these boundaries after Trump? Like, I refuse to accept that just any norm that's been broken has to remain broken forever.
I agree.
Like, I don't think that you can just do it by like leading by example, like a lot of old school Democrats think. I think that we need new laws. I think that we need constitutional amendments. I think that we need a whole new democracy reform push. That's another conversation.
That is another conversation, but it is a conversation that I am, with bated breath waiting to have, because it is whatever system we have been working in, it's not working, right? We have to tear some things down to rebuild them for a more robust, stronger, resilient democracy, because the fact that Donald Trump in less than, 10 years has been able to completely decimate American values and norms and infrastructure is diabolical.
Absolutely. If you don't like the rules, don't just play by your own rules. Change the rules, right? And so we're seeing all of these rules get broken. We're going to have to change them. So I'm totally with you.
Watch this space. Brian and I are going to launch a campaign to reform American democracy.
Okay, I have flirted with the idea of a segment where we pitch each other a brand new policy idea that we came up with.
Wait, I love this because it's kind of giving like elementary like economics fair or something, where it's kind of like La La Land and you're making up policies that you want passed. So, okay, I'm down.
If you guys want to see it, please DM us your policy ideas so that we can get started. Let's talk a little about the other major political development in the last week since we last recorded, which was the indictment of Attorney General Tish James.
Yeah, she's our Attorney General. She's a wonderful Attorney General, a wonderful person. And this is nothing but a political witch hunt.
Yeah, so Tish James had led the investigation into the Trump organization. Remember, he inflated and deflated the values of his properties and assets in order to avoid paying taxes. Very on brand, as we know, for the Trump family and organization as a whole. She won that case, and he owed almost $500 million in this civil suit. And that's been going through the courts, and he's been appealing it, blah, blah, blah. But I think that's the thing that really increased the size of the target on her back. He's always hated her. He's always had it out for her. She's a very outspoken Democrat, Black woman. I mean, pick your reason for why he hates her. And after the James Comey indictment came through, he refocused his attention and was posting about her and Adam Schiff being other targets. And president asks for something and somebody's going to go do it because you're abusing the power of your office. And so some district, I think it was a district attorney in Virginia, but I'd have to double check that, went in front of a grand jury and got an indictment on like mortgage fraud.
The Trump administration has some really weird thing with mortgage fraud.
No, right, exactly. They're coming after lots of people on mortgages because I think it's with the data that they have access to. If you're literally just looking to dig up dirt on somebody and they're pulling all of the data that that person has associated with them with the federal government, you have to file certain documents with the government
Sure.
around your mortgage in order to claim tax breaks for home ownership. And I think that that's just a thing of convenience. It really goes to show we're not seeking justice for harm done. We're seeking a charge for the person who we want justice done to.
Yeah, it's a retribution campaign. Like,
Yeah.
he is using the power of the presidency and all of the different cabinet officials and administrations, under his command to persecute perceived political enemies.
I agree. And it's one of the important differences between the Trump charges and indictments and the people in the Trump universe who got charged with things and sent to jail is that they happened contemporaneously. Like, those charges came as a result of actions immediately following the actions taking place. Like, they did something, there was an investigation, they were charged. These are all things that Trump is like digging up from the past that they can like sort of say, oh, this is within the statute of limitations kind of thing. I would feel potentially differently if Tish James was like caught speeding going 120 in a 70 and then they threw the book at her. It'd be like, okay, well, she was doing something like yesterday that she shouldn't have been doing, whatever. Like, this is just a thing that they're digging up for the sake of it.
It's so transparent. Tish James, as you mentioned, she's been indicted. So that means like charged with insert, law broken here. James Comey has been indicted, charged with basically that he lied to Congress, which apparently I'm not a lawyer, but a lot of my friends are. And they've told me that this is an extremely difficult thing to prove. So good luck. Adam Schiff is under investigation. John Bolton is under investigation. Lisa Cook, as we know, is like under pressure to resign or whatever. And then, of course, we have like the cultural retribution that he's using various levers of power to influence. We saw it with Colbert being canceled and pulled off CBS. And, a mere 3 weeks ago, Jimmy Kimmel was pulled off the air. And thanks to the power of the people, we got his ass back in that seat.
Yeah. And then not to mention, we just have to pile on top of that, in addition to these like leaders across the country, they're coming after just everyday people who oppose them as well. So all of the people who posted anything they didn't like about Charlie Kirk, they've pulled people's green cards and visas. They've deported people over it. They've tried to arrest people over it. There was a guy who posted a Facebook meme and got arrested in Tennessee about Charlie Kirk. And they're trying to get everyone fired. And then separately from that, you think about the ICE raids and sort of attacks, invasions of various US cities and what they're trying to do to the people who are protesting and publicly speaking out against that.
You know what still really chaps my ass, Brian?
Tell me.
The fact that ICE agents cover their faces.
Oh, I'll never be over that.
I think about it every single day. Every single day. One, given just how upset the right was around wearing masks during the COVID-19 pandemic to help protect yourself and, of course, your neighbors from the deadly virus. And now they're running around cities covering their faces. If you weren't ashamed of what you were doing, show your face. Show your face.
I completely agree. We have one last story for the week that we have to touch on.
This story, it is a doozy. It's disgusting. It's deplorable. Is a Telegram, which is a Russian-owned encrypted messaging service that many people in the political space might use. There's Signal. WhatsApp is also encrypted. Anyway, people use these for massive group chats to talk about things. Okay, this was a group chat of many, many, many young Republican leaders across the country. Many were either in leadership positions in state Republican parties, like young Republican state leadership, or Some were actually elected officials. In what will come as a shock to literally no one, it was full of racial slurs. It was full of white supremacy. It was full of sexual assault language. It was disgusting.
Yeah. I'm not surprised because we know that in their attempt to court young men rather than try to build new leaders and inspire service, they've been leaning into the absolute worst of like young men's impulses and stereotypes to try to court this demographic that they see as really important to them. And so I'm not surprised at all that the meme shit that they put out into the internet in these dark corners of like 4chan and Rumble and crap has come back into the leadership of the next generation of Republicans. Like that's exactly what I would expect to happen. When you use Nazi propaganda to recruit people to your party, you're going to end up with Nazis in the party. That's logical. It's very straightforward to me. What I think is maybe less obvious is I'm not convinced that some private Republican group chats in Congress would look super different than that.
Completely agree. The chats were, I think I failed to mention one of the most consistent themes in the chat, which is blatant anti-Semitism. One of the chat leaders talking about how he loves Hitler, a lot of talk about gas chambers and sending people who are political opponents to gas chambers. I completely agree with you that I think some of these Capitol Hill chats probably use similar language, and that should scare a lot of Americans.
And I'm not going to repeat the things that have been said, but they're horrific enough that lots of Republicans have at least claimed that they're opposed to this, even though they continue to participate in a system that lifts these people up and supports the systems that they're making jokes about. A bunch of young Republicans did lose their positions and jobs. So far, a handful. I shouldn't say a bunch. A handful of them, like some of the ringleaders.
I hear you on Republicans mainly being that they're the ones responsible, condemning the chat and saying they're not associated with any of these people, etc. But one of the main ringleaders of this chat, his name is Peter. He has said some of the worst things in the chat. He said, and I quote, "While I take complete responsibility, I have no way of verifying their accuracy and am deeply concerned that the message logs in question may have been deceptively doctored." So this is like the Donald Trump brain and like logic, right? Of like, I take full responsibility, but it's fake. No.
Right. He was the New York State Young Republicans chair and is no longer. There's one notable exception as to who refused to condemn these outright racist, anti-Semitic, misogynistic, violent remarks. Do you know who that was?
I don't.
JD Vance came to their rescue and said, I'm not going to condemn these people, and tried to point the finger at somebody else who said something else on the other side of the aisle.
He is sick in the head. Something happened to him, and I don't know what it was or when it happened, but he has a brain rot that has completely made him evil.
My hot take is that John Fetterman and JD Vance have the same affliction. Something maybe for another episode for us to dive into deeper.
Our producer made a note that JD Vance's mom, based on his autobiography, did try and sell him for Percocets, which may have been a trauma. But Roxy Andrews was left at a bus station. And look
at how she's doing.
Yes.
JD Vance, if you can't do a wig reveal to change the game, then get out of the White House. What are you even doing here?
It's giving. Brian, we're going to do clickbait double click, but you are just so on top of it that you've already brought up two of the headlines that I was going to ask you about. So consider those double clicked because we talked about them.
Yes.
And I'm going to give you the other 3 or 4 here, and we're gonna double click. I think one of them is worth talking about, but I'm curious if you think it's the same one.
Let's do
Okay.
it.
First one, Trump takes aim at Antifa and the press in White House roundtable.
Clickbait. I think that a lot of the Republican talking points on Antifa are specifically designed to make us talk about Antifa. And the more we talk about it, the more that people feel like it's a real thing when it's not.
Media, including Fox News, overwhelmingly rejects Pentagon press policy.
It's right in the middle. That's so tough. I'm going to say clickbait in the sense of there are so many 5-alarm fires happening right now. I actually don't think the average person cares what the press in the Pentagon has access to. It does matter. I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but I'm saying at this moment in time, for most people, it's not something that they need to focus on.
You want to hear my hot take on it?
Tell me.
I think that it's become a bigger story than it maybe should be on purpose. For those who don't know, this media policy is essentially saying that any reporter has to be essentially like staffed by a Pentagon staffer to have access to the Pentagon, that they can't even report on unclassified material. But I think they're kind of like, look over there, because Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of Defense, leaked essentially war plans in a Signal chat.
Totally. I can see that.
But I hate him. Okay. Chuck Schumer gets his preferred candidate, Janet Mills, in crowded Senate race.
Double click. This is really big, and it's going to be a huge proxy battle for the future of the Democratic Party happening in Maine, where you have all of the establishment lining up behind Janet Mills, the current governor who's term limited, and in her 70s.
77 years old.
As a preferred candidate in the general election in their eyes, as like the most electable. She's extremely popular in the state. And then you have the populist left lining up behind Graham Plattner, who's this like oyster shucker dude who had like a really splashy launch, has raised tons and tons of grassroots money, has the endorsement of Bernie Sanders. Double click. We're going to be watching it all year, really, for the next 6 months. And it's going to be really important.
People really felt like it was a slap in the face to what young Democratic voters are looking for in their candidates, and for the establishment to say, you know what, that's cute that you like this Plattner guy, but we think this 77-year-old governor is going to win the seat. And maybe they have access to polling. We don't.
They have tons of polling. I don't think it justifies it. And they could not have botched the launch anymore. If they were going to do this and they were going to be like, Janet Mills is our girl and we're going in for it, they needed to get her ass off the ground 6 months ago. They needed to say, you're running, we're in, you have until July 1 to launch your campaign, and then it's over. And then we would have avoided this whole thing.
So that was it.
Lots of double clicks for the week overall.
Right. But the other ones I pulled to make it clear was you're losing your visa if you talk bad about Charlie Kirk, and Donald Trump talking about the United States potentially getting involved in the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, I would have double clicked on both. Nailed it. So I saw this clip going viral last night, actually, of a woman at Federal Plaza in New York reacting to masked ICE agents up in her face. Let's watch it.
Try it.
I wish you would. You try me and see what the fuck happened. Nigga, we angry. All of us angry out here. So don't think it's y'all alone.
Get out of here.
Who you telling get out of here? Why you telling me get out of here? You asked me a question and I'm answering you.
Get out of here. Man.
Fuck wrong with you? Oh, stupid ass bitch. That's why you gotta hide your face.
You wanna go to jail?
You call me my mother, I can tell you anything.
You wanna go to
Fuck
jail?
wrong with you? You wanna hit me? Hit me, bitch. You ain't got me. Nobody's scared of you. You're a pussy ass. Come. I got rings on, bitch. So me and you gonna fight. You a pussy bitch. You a pussy bitch. That's why your kids them don't like you and your wife is fucking on you. That's why you gotta hide your face. My face ain't hidden, bitch. I'm American, you stupid bitch. Fuck wrong with y'all. You can take me too high. I'm sure in this whole your friends. You know what to do? Tell them, no. You want me? Fuck wrong with y'all. Fuck all of you. Put that on the news. Let Trump see it.
It's giving Queen. I'm obsessed.
It's giving, fuck you, I'm an American bitch.
It is giving like the strength of America. It's giving nation of immigrants.
No, I am like, fly, eagle, fly, waving that flag. Like, come for her. I dare you. They dared, and they received what they should have.
For our audio only listeners, this is a woman staring down and standing up to chest with 5 or 6 masked ICE agents who are easily 1.5 feet taller than her. And she isn't blinking an eye. She is 0% afraid of them. And I think that that's a remarkable thing. And exactly the kind of energy that is what deflates authoritarianism. That guy is trying to be so tough, sitting there with his masked face, thinking that he's physically threatening this woman because he doesn't like that she's standing up to him. And it's like, you think you're tough? The more that he tries to physically intimidate her, the more weak it makes him look. And that's really how this works all the time. And so I love how she exposes them for the cowards that they are, for sitting there with masked faces, carrying out the will of the president in a way that can really only be described as like a secret police force.
It's the kind of strength you do need to see in times like these, to your point of just like people being like, fuck you, I'm an American. These are my rights. Come for me. I dare you. And watch this, Donald Trump.
This woman, I think, is the energy of the moment now.
Totally. And I think we'd be remiss to not remind the Vibes Only audience that this Saturday, October 18th, is the second No Kings rally across the country. All you need to do is go to Mobilize and find a No Kings rally in your city, town. There are thousands across the country, and stand up to the Trump administration and remind them, no fucking kings.
I will be there in New York. So if you see me on the street, come say hi, and I will maybe ask you to give
Brian
us
will say hi.
A clip, and we can play some of the clips from folks in our episode next week.
Yes. Okay, Brian, is it time for a good vibe goodbye?
It's time for a good vibe goodbye. Our good vibe of the week is that the Supreme Court has officially rejected Alex Jones' appeal of his over $1 billion judgment against him for lying his ass off about Sandy Hook victims and their families. And so, huge win, even coming from the Supreme Court, that Jones has apparently exhausted his appeal options and is going to be forced to basically pay for the rest of his life.
Yeah. And you say victims. I just want to remind everyone, Sandy Hook, it was children. Yeah. Children. And, you know, some adults, some teachers that were gunned down in their school. So Alex Jones, you can eat shit and pay until the end of your time. And the rest of the Republicans who are following his example, you're right behind him. So just wait your turn. All right. Have a good week, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll see you at No Kings, and we'll also see you next week. Vibes Only is a production of Vibes Only, the podcast, LLC, produced by us, Glennis Mahar and
Brian Derrick,
with audio producer Baze Hohen and digital producer Maddie Hart. We want to hear from you. Send us voice notes, drop a comment, and if you're vibing with the pod, share it with your friends. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you next week. See ya.